Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. It is Monday, February 20th, and my episode today is brought to you by my fantastic sponsor, Earthquaker Devices. Earthquaker Devices are the best stomp box pedals that you can buy. Handmade boutique pedals out of Akron, Ohio, the land of Devo. Every band I've seen in the last couple of years has their pedal boards loaded with Earthquaker Devices, so you know they're bulletproof, man. You don't take garbage out on the road. You need stuff that doesn't break down, and obviously Earthquaker is delivering every night on some stage in America or around the world, wherever rock, soul, funk, country, jazz, fusion, everybody's using these pedals. They look cool, they sound cool, they're bulletproof, and the people that own the company are cool. They're comedy fans, they're great people. Earthquaker Devices is my longest and coolest sponsor. I absolutely love them, and you guys will too. Hit them up, follow them on Instagram, check out their page. They do all kinds of cool stomp box demos on there. You can hear the pedals, you can see them, or hit them up on Facebook or Twitter. They got some amps out now too, curly cords, hats, shirts, anything, man. Earthquaker Devices. Get yourself a stomp box and sound like a king. You want to sound like you got the candles lit? Get an Earthquaker device.
I was thinking about another time still in my mind. Well, I used to know a little girl high on this world. Your baby loves you more.
All right, guys, here it is. It's Monday, and 7 days sick. Insane. I'm just going to have to shut it down. I've come to the conclusion I'm going to have to just stay in the house till I get better. It's crazy. It just, I think I feel better, and then it lingers, and then it comes back. This shit is brutal, man. My head is totally plugged up right now. My ears. I had to go out to Denver and do a one-off, just pounding Dayquil like a meth head. That Dayquil, boy, it takes me back to the. It's funny when you don't do any ups. And you do some Dayquil, whoo, man, you get some shit done. The house is clean. This house is clean machine. It's not really clean, but I am doing a lot of writing. Just over there tweaking like, oh yeah, this will be funny. Anyway, flew into Denver over the weekend. Thank you to everyone that came out to the Sioux Teatro Theater. A one-off, me, Lucas Hurl, and Steve Henry had a great time out there. And I really want to give major props to the promoters, Matt Lopez and his partner, William, how do you say his last name? Nedig? I hope that's right. Matt Lopez and William Nedig. These guys, once in a while, I'll get somebody that wants to book me, and I'll take a chance, to go out and work with someone, and you don't know who they are. They're like, I saw you, or I'm a fan of the podcast. I want to have you come out to like Oklahoma or wherever and do a gig. And they don't really understand what it takes to do a gig. And they just think you just show up at the bar and there's going to be people there. And they forget you need a spotlight or sometimes a microphone or a place to sleep or anything, But not these guys, man. These guys were so pro. It made the show. I was in Denver, in and out of there, and back at my house in a 24-hour period, and it was so smooth, it felt like I just went to the Comedy Store and came home. That's how smooth it was. Picked us up at the airport, took us to lunch, went to the venue, did an amazing show. Awesome crowd. If you guys are listening that were at the show, you guys were a great audience. It's just so amazing to do a show with no check drops or drink orders or anything. Great sound, old rock and roll theater. And then took us to the hotel. Woo! Whew, that hotel. Let me give you a little tip here, people. The Ramada in Denver. Ooh, God, this thing was a crack shack. I don't even know how Ramada has their name. I bet they don't even know their name's still on this hotel. They probably were like, we went out of business there years ago. We have a Ramada in downtown Denver? Hilarious. And I didn't even bark at the promoters because they were so fucking cool and good that I was like, this is early 80s rock and roll tour for me. But man, what a piece of shit this hotel is. And just giving you guys a heads up. Oh, man. This thing, I can't even describe what this room was like. Carpet torn up, a curtain pulled down like someone was trying to escape the room and just grabbed the curtain, and then somebody murdered them on the chair there. There's a giant stain on the chair. There was wallpaper in the shower, and it was peeling off the walls. And then the toilet seat. This is the funniest thing I've seen in years in a hotel room. And you don't really see this much anymore, shitty hotels. That's the old days. In the old days when you were in a rock band, normal hotels wouldn't let you check in. They're like, oh no, you're going to trash the place. So you always stayed at these shit hotels on the outskirts of town. As Burr would call them, the No Country for Old Men style hotels where you're on the ground level. Those kind of hotels. And they were fun. You didn't give a fuck. This is like, there was no bed bugs back then. There was crabs, but there wasn't bed bugs. And, and then later on, like, hotel people got hip, like boutique guys were like, hey, let's cash in on this rock and roll. And they had kind of cool hotels that catered to rock bands and were down with fucking salty weirdos. Anyway, so this hotel, man, it was just a garbage can. It was unbelievable. And the whole time I was laughing. As I went up, first of all, the elevator looked like, I think Steve said it looked like there's tigers in there at one time, and they just scratched the whole wall in the elevator. Then it opened to floor 2, and our floor was just a storage. The whole hallways and everything were just storage for the hotel. It looked like the Scooby-Doo hotel, like it was out of business. It was insane. The lobby just had meth heads, like, hey man, you going downtown? What are you guys up to? You guys, just people talking to you. It was fucking insane. Anyway, I want to thank Matt and William for an incredible night. And Denver, once again, just Denver, fantastic. Yesterday, a big day for me. Every year, this day hits me like a punch in the face. Bon Scott passed February 19th, 1980. I still remember it. I was in junior high. I was going to school. I heard on, I believe it was KFRC maybe at the time, was the radio station. They said, Angus Young has passed. Angus Young has died. I was like, what? And it was like a fucking sock to the face, walking around junior high all day with my buddies. Man, did you hear Angus died? No internet. No nothing. Just radio, and then hope to find out about it somehow. And then, of course, get out of school. The newspaper was already out that day, so nothing in the paper because it came out in the morning. Looked the next day, combing through the pages of the newspaper, got to the back. Wasn't Angus Young. It was Bon Scott. And it just I just sat down and was just leveled. I was just leveled. It was so early on in my AC/DC worshiping. Most things about me are because of Bon Scott. He made me get into music, tattoos, his radicalness, his vest, the way he dressed, his Lewis leather jacket that he wore on the Let There Be Rock film. Just everything about the guy. I wish I could be even more like him, man. It's just so carefree and loose. Just wherever he woke up was where he woke up, and just 100% rock and roll. A pure natural. The voice is unbelievable. I have many AC/DC bootlegs, and I saw a Bon, and never, ever did I hear his voice fail. It was incredible. And you got to talk about back then how hard it was to sing rock and roll. Shit monitors, right? With bands that would use like 4 Marshall stacks all turned up on 10. Those were all on back then. And, Bon just out there, in the beginning, back in 1955. That fucking voice, always killing. It's funny because I was a big Van Halen guy and a big AC/DC guy. And when you listen to Van Halen bootlegs, they were never really good. It was just loud and you were high, and they were good early on. But then later they get a little, it just wasn't the same. I mean, to say Van Halen wasn't good is just wrong, because they were unbelievable all the time. But not like AC/DC, man. AC/DC didn't have any tricks, any hocus pocus. It was just fucking brute force rock and roll. And that guy, it's seriously a lifetime ago to me that he passed away. I mean, I was in junior high. I'm 51 years old now. I still listen to him. I have him tattooed on my body. I do tributes to him. I've never, ever grown tired of this man. Ever. His lyrics, his style, everything about the guy, next level. I never, ever, ever will get tired of Bon Scott. Every year it's a different record I fall in love with, and it's just insane. Last year, did the whole Highway to Hell record for my 50th birthday. And just realizing there will never be another guy like that. Long live Bon Scott, man. Long live Bon Scott. Let's get into the show today. My guest is a complete rock and roller. I absolutely love this guy. He is New York City. He has complete street cred. He's been playing music since he was 12 years old in bands. He is the real deal, man. Jesse Malin. Let me tell you, man, this guy has been doing it, and this episode is awesome. He is a do-it-yourself, just go for it guy, and he's definitely a great inspiration. And he's just pure New York City, and I was dying to have him on because I'm fascinated by New York City. I love it. It's probably the last city I will live in. I've talked about it many times. It's electric. He describes it the same way. He is 100% punk rock. He knows all kinds of music stuff, which is great to talk to somebody like that. We're about the same age. He just turned 50. I just turned 51. Most of you know him from D-Generation. Later on, of course, putting out amazing solo records. Ryan Adams produced his first one. How fucking cool is that? Then he puts out a solo record, Glitter in the Gutter, and Bruce Springsteen does a song with him on it, which is an incredible tune. I played it a little bit at the top here, and you can hear the rest of it at the end. I was first introduced to him years ago by my good friend Jacob Dylan, and I've always been fascinated by this guy's body of work. And I missed a lot of it early on in the 90s when he was doing D-Generation, because by then I was knee deep into weed and Black Crowes and alt country and all that. And later on, got on board on D-Generation's No Lunch record way late, once Strokes and all that hit. But that's what's great about music. It's never too late to keep finding stuff. over and over and over in your life. And we talk about how we found Springsteen later in our lives. And me with the Grateful Dead, and him even. He even said he's starting to like the Dead. Great guest. Follow him on Instagram and Jesse_Malin, Malin. And support this guy. Listen to his music. Go see him on the road. He's always working. And yeah, man. Let's get with the episode. Right before I do, though, let me just give you a couple show dates coming up. If you missed me in Colorado, I will be back doing a full run at my favorite club in America, the Denver Comedy Works downtown, April 26th through the 30th. Do not miss that. Get tickets now. Irvine Improv, March 9th, I'll be headlining, one night only. And then Ontario Improv, I'll be doing Easter weekend, April 13th through the 15th. Headlining there, and Kevin Christie is coming with me. I love all you guys. I'm still battling this. Got to get better. Thanks for putting up with my coughs and shit voice. Keep the candles lit. Let's get into it right here. Oh, one last thing. This episode's brought to you by Elko and Harley. Elko and Harley, of course, is my only Harley-Davidson dealer I go to in America. I don't care where you live. You can buy a motorcycle there, fly in at San Diego International, and they'll pick you up, and you can ride that motorcycle home. Hit up Greg and tell him, hey, I need a new motorcycle. I want to get the Milwaukee 8 engine. Delray tells me it kicks ass. It does kick ass. It doesn't even matter if they were sponsoring the podcast or not. I would be shouting out this damn new motorcycle I got over and over and over. These Road King and all these baggers they have with the new Milwaukee 8 motor are insane. Hit up Elko and Harley. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Go in and get your bike serviced. They got the brand new Road King in there, the Road King Special. Elko and Harley, man, this place it's smoking good, man. They've got everything in there. They put my bike together, and this bike is pro, man. I've gone to dealers before where it's just like, they don't care. They just throw your parts on, and then it's like, hey, this is wrong. Hey, you scratched my bike. Hey, this. These guys treat your motorcycle exactly like it was theirs, and they know what the hell they're doing. My bike is smoking, man. I love them. El Cajon Harley. Hit them up. Follow them, and they're going to have a great summer. All kinds of good stuff going on. We just had that bike night at La Jolla Comedy Store, and it was great. El Cajon Harley. Let's get into the episode right now. Jesse Malin. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. Fantastic guest. Introduce yourself.
I'm Jesse Malin. Hello, hello.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's all right. It's good to be in California. Actually, well, it's wild. It's in New York right now. It's 68 degrees, and out here it's like kind of cold and wet. But we thought we were getting away on this tour to get away from the winter for a little while.
Yeah, I was just in Denver this morning,
and
it was fucking beautiful out.
Wow.
And now, look, it's Friday was one of the most insane storms I've ever seen here. You know, it was just insane. You were out here, right?
We were just, no, we were in Phoenix, actually.
Oh,
we were
God,
hearing
yeah,
about
lucky.
it coming in here on Saturday. We were worried about it. But I guess the world is ending and going in crazy. That we've messed with it so much. Who knows what the fuck's happening. But wherever you go, there you are. So you just deal with it, right? Wherever,
yeah.
The weather, all that stuff. Just be in the moment somehow. I try.
Well, I always feel like, you know, like if you lived here, I've been here, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years or something, you just forget about weather, you know? But I've recently been spending a lot of time in New York, and I'm just kind of like, oh, shit, weather, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was a brutal summer in New York. I was there in August. I was like, what the fuck is this, that heat wave? And then just snowstorm, you know? Like, well, last week they had a crazy storm there, you know?
Yeah, I was there for that. It was right before we left for tour. Yeah, so we've had our snowstorms. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, sometimes the winter lasts really long, or it's like I can't keep track of it. Just go with it. Just whatever happens, bring it on. We'll find a way. You know?
I love New York. It's funny because I want to move there. I've talked about it for like a year, but it's impossible now, you know? Mm-hmm. It's just $1 zillion. But you've been there all your life. And of course, it's got to be a lot like me in the Bay Area. You know, I grew up there all my life, and here in LA now, where you just see it just completely change in your whole lifetime, from just full on live there, be a rock and roll punk rocker, and then all of a sudden you just can't afford to live there.
Yeah, for a long time, and we just wanted to get out of the boroughs like Queens and Brooklyn and Staten Island, all those places, to come down to downtown New York. It was burned out, kind of crazy Lower East Side place where you could create and live cheaply and you know, put on art, put your art together, put on shows, you know, rehearse, live, whatever, go to gigs. And then suddenly it became where people started moving back to the places that we wanted to get the fuck out of our whole lives. And there's bars and galleries and vegan restaurants in Queens and in Brooklyn and all these places that were, you know, kind of working class, you know, suburban areas, boroughs. But there's still ways in New York to do things. I mean, yeah, I was born in Queens. I've lived in some other places. I tried living out here in Los Angeles for a while. Yeah.
What era was that?
Around when I was making Glitter in the Gutter. It was like my third studio solo record.
The one with Springsteen on it?
Yeah, it was on the Green Day label, and their company, Adeline Records, California-based, and I was dealing with them a lot in their management. So I lived out here and recorded, actually, behind this big clown that's in a lot of movies, Circus Liquor.
Oh, yeah, right there.
In that alley there.
You lived down there?
Well, I recorded in there. Yeah, I was living in proper Hollywood, and it was still pretty sleazy. I mean, I found it to be tough for me because I'm a big walker, and if you walk out here, they think you're a male prostitute.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Buns up on Santa Monica is not my idea of I don't know. I mean, I like Astro Burger on Santa Monica, but really, I like to walk places. That's how songs happen for me. That's how the day unfolds. You go out, and suddenly you have dinner, and you just stumble into what you're going to eat. And I love cities like that. You know, parts of Chicago and London, of course, and, you know, even San Francisco. I just like going out the door. I walked around Burbank today and ended up in a P.F. Chang's and shaking the wang. But
Chang's,
no,
right?
I'm joking, but you know, you end up in these things. But it's important when we tour. I always like to, after, you know, before sound check, while they're setting up the gear, or after, go walk around the town, find record stores,
get a feel of it.
Yeah, just get a feel of the people. Otherwise, you're just in the van. It's like that Henry Rollins thing. You know, you try to tell some girl or guy like, "Hey, I've been all over the world and I've done this and that." Meanwhile, you know, you've been in the airport, the van, the venue, the hotel, and that, you know, that's all you see. Sometimes you get no idea. But if you get a glimpse of certain places, then you can go, "Wow, I want to come back here. Maybe I'll come back, you know, when I'm not doing this," but I'm always doing this. So it's tricky. But the thing about New York, I was saying, is that it's kind of still a place, again, where there's so many cultures and people in such a small space that there's such an energy. And I thrive on that. You walk out your door and stuff happens, and you're forced to deal with people. And as much as it's been gentrified, and people always say to me, "Well, what about New York? You know, you're Jesse, you live in New York, and your songs are about New York. You know, it's changed so much." And I'm like, the whole frickin' world has changed. Like, everywhere is gentrified. Everywhere I go, we're on the same strip and the same chain, you know, stores. It's like a mall. And it's in the internet as well. But there's definitely pockets, even in downtown Manhattan, where there are cool bars. There's this great old movie theater that does indie films and then old films called Metrograph that has the directors and actors and actresses come in and speak, and that's on Canal and Ludlow. There's little bars where bands play. There's still a couple rehearsal rooms and galleries, and I haven't moved out because, you know, I'm from there so long that I can turn a trick there pretty much better than anywhere else. You know, I have some relationships with people, and me and my business partners at a bar. You know, I took some of my music money from D-Generation and opened up a little corner bar called Niagara.
Yeah.
And that's like 20 years coming on now.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah. And then when I didn't have a record deal, I would just DJ in there, or, you know, we always tried to make it a thing where when I'm on the road, I want to go into a bar after a show and hear great music and have some drinks and talk to people. And I want to find that spot, whether I'm in Leeds or I'm in Finland, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And we tried
and you got
to
the Bowery Electric too, right?
Me and a couple other people, three of the same people, and somebody else went into the Bowery Electric, and so you have a piece of these spots, and you know, it's good because you can hire all your friends, you know, that need jobs, and they can go on tour and come back, and you can have that kind of thing that you always wished you were treated like when you were trying to keep a job as a musician. Yeah. And it's a place, you know, we rehearse in these spots, or we film it, and we do, you know, different things, and we can lend it out to other artists too to rehearse in the day, or you know, bands on the road come in and drink free and that kind of stuff. In the same way that I would like to be treated if I came to your town,
right,
you know, and I have. Yeah, I've been very lucky that people have been so kind, and you know, you travel around the world, people open up their homes to you. In New York, we don't have that much space. You know, you can't have a band stay in your.
It's tough, right?
You can. I mean, you know, hardcore punk days, everybody on the floor. But and then I come out to L.A. and as much as it's a good change for me. I'm a vegetarian, so there's a lot of good food opportunities.
Really good.
Yeah, and
there's a great place in New York, Red Bamboo.
Oh, Red Bamboo's good.
Holy
Yeah,
shit, that place is good,
14th
dude.
Street spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but out here there's a whole bunch of different ones, and I like the veggie burger at Astro Burger and the burrito with Dos Burritos. But there are things here. I'm a big fan of where things came from, especially in culture and in art and music and movies. And there's a lot of spots that are still here, maybe because there's more space, it's widespread. But like, we couldn't keep CBGB's. That opened in what, 74, 75?
Yep.
You guys got the whiskey from 1963 still open.
Still there, the
Maybe
Roxy,
you wouldn't want to
the
go there every
Troubadour?
night. Yeah, the Troubadour. You can go into
The Viper Room is still even open,
Yeah.
which is like the new one, and it's like fucking 25 years old now. Isn't that crazy?
And that's pretty nuts. I know it smells different in there, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of the original people,
The
they're all gone.
Rainbow? I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
you go in the Rainbow and see Ron Jeremy in flip flops and sweatpants. But you could go up the road to like these Turner's Liquors or whatever and buy
Awesome.
some booze where Humphrey Bogart probably bought bourbon in the 50s.
Yeah, Gil
you know?
Turner's. Oh man, here's what I love. I love San Francisco. I love New York, and I love LA, and they all mean something to me. And what New York means to me now is it's alive. As far as like what you're talking about, I think that's what I love about it is I pop out of the apartment I'm at or whatever, and I'm into the fucking world. I'm on the subway, people are fighting and shit. I
Yeah.
go, wow, this is fucking real, and it creates energy for me to write stuff like for comedy.
Yeah, you're bouncing off situations. You hear a conversation in the subway, suddenly that could be a bit to go on stage with, and fucking
Absolutely.
do it. Yeah, and
I read a thing where it said every 14th person in Manhattan is a millionaire. So I look around on the subway and I go, well, there's like 9 millionaires in my car right now. Why would you be a millionaire and ride this fucking subway, Isn't that crazy? Every 14th person? I don't know if it's real, but that's what I read,
I didn't know that. Wow, I have to think differently then. Look at everybody.
Where do you live in New York?
I live on Avenue A, actually 2nd Street between 1st and A.
Yeah.
Don't ring my bell. But, it's really, people used to go out 24/7 in a city like New York. It used to be the city that never sleeps, and all the bars have a 4 a.m. license. But most people go out 1 or 2 nights because they all have to work to make these high rents. It used to be we had cheap rents, we drank free, we ate free, we sold, records that your friend gave you from the rec company at the shop, you sold some clothes, you stole things, whatever you did.
Yeah.
You found a way to like live outside of society and do that. And that's always been the thing for me since I was a kid. I mean, I started playing when I was really young. My
Got 12?
First audition at CBGB's, I was 12. I called from the school payphone in junior high school, and we came in on a Monday night, did the audition, and we didn't pass because we didn't bring enough friends that drank. And but from that
Hilarious.
first audition, we ended up with a gig at Max's Kansas City.
How's the audition work? You go down and actually play a couple
On
songs?
a Monday night, it used to be Hilly Crystal said if you had original music, you come down on a Monday night, and you can play your stuff, and they judge you or whatever. So we loaded up into one of our mom's cars, all this gear, and we went down around that stage where we saw the photos of Blondie and the Talking Heads.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, we're playing. The lights are hot, and it smelled like booze and ammonia. I don't know. It just had that and piss. But it was pretty great, and the Bowery was really scary. I mean, it was people in those Flophouse hotels, the Palace Hotel.
Well, that
upstairs.
shit was insane, man.
And everybody was outside, and it really was intense. But playing on that stage, we'd seen all the photos, even AC/DC, and all these cool bands playing there. So we did that, and we failed the audition. But some guy was there, and he booked us at Max's for that July. And then somehow that swung back, and we ended up playing at CB's again. But I remember they said to me, because we came out in the early '80s and grew up on all that 70s stuff, the Pistols, the Dead Boys, the Clash, the Ramones. And they said, oh, you missed it. It's over, man. That stuff's done. It happened already. And, of course, at that time, Blondie was going disco more, and Ramones were trying to have a hit. And, the Dead Boys broke up, or people were dead and strung out. So he said, that stuff's over, man. You missed it. You got to try something new. Like rockabilly or or new romantic. Yeah, I'm gonna dress up like a pirate and jump out of tights.
The new romantics. There was a weird era there. Like I did like Mexican radio. Remember? And you got like Missing Persons And, like, I don't know what year you're talking, but that's like 83.
Yeah, I'm talking more like-
Bowie's hitting with Let's Dance. It is
a little earlier than that, like, because for me, then what this led into, it's really like 80, early 81.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say 80. And, just kids from Queens, but then we were craving this raw, aggressive music that didn't exist. So there was a band called Stimulators that were like a bridge band before hardcore. And Harley Flanagan, who was in the Cro-Mags, was the
fucking
drummer.
love that band. Saw that famous tour.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, man. The with the bomb on the cover.
Age of Quarrel.
Yeah, man. I saw them River Theater in up north. I never forgot it. He was going to do the podcast like 2 months ago. I just disappeared.
His book is good. Harley's book
That's
is
what I
all
heard.
right.
That
John's book is
band-
good too. John has a few books. But yeah, there's a lot of controversy and energy. But he was this little 11. He's the same age as me. Maybe his birthday's in March. Mine was just in January. But Harley was the kid that we looked at and said, if he can do that, I'm going to go. So I did the audition at CB's because of him. But they were around. They were playing two girls, gay poet, singer, and Harley on drums. And they were this great band that got these kids jumping around, knocking over tables. But it was more punk rock and roll stylized. And then the Bad Brains started coming up from D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And we'd watch them play in front of like 20 people and blow our minds. I mean, they would get faster and faster in time, but they were so tight with jazz fusion chops. And, there's been so much respect and well-deserved information on them put out there. That I worked on a film called A Band in D.C. And
Right.
there's books and there's a movie on HR. But, it was unreal. I went to see this band at CBGB's. There's nobody there. The guy does backflips and they stop on a dime and they crazy players. It just
Incredible,
took it
right?
to a whole nother level. It changed our lives. And at the same time, that was about the only thing really going on in New York. I mean, there was some bands, but this out west, we were getting little bites in fanzines and stuff of like Circle Jerks and Black Flag and Dead Kennedys, of course, which kind of started to me in my mind more as a punk rock thing that did speed up and have like hardcore because they had that mentality like Jello was, preaching think for yourself and think and not burn out and stick a needle up your fucking nose and become like the generations before.
Yeah,
So this
straight edge.
hardcore thing, before even the straight edge thing was just like a bunch of kids, and then suddenly we noticed that we'd found each other downtown, on Avenue A on certain corners looking for music. And when I got rejected from CBGB's, I walked further East Avenue A, and that's where I saw the flyers for the Bad Brains shows, and it would be like 3, 4, 5, then eventually 25, 50 kids that would make up this hardcore scene. And a lot of us came from Queens and Brooklyn and Jersey and Long Island, and little bands like Reagan Youth, Kraut, The Undead, False Prophets, eventually Murphy's Law, Urban Waste, The Misguided, and then Agnostic Front. But in the beginning, it was a real small group of bands. We'd all play at A7, which is now the Niagara bar that we're involved in. But it was this little room in the back, and we would play till 6, 7 in the morning, and then you try to go back to Queens, 2 trains and a bus, and live with your mom and my sister, and try to go to regular school, and you get beat up for looking different. It wasn't like now where moms have mohawks at the mall and everybody has a shaved vagina, and it was.
I don't have enough tattoos to work at Chipotle. You know what I mean? And I'm fucking covered in them. It's so different back then, right? I remember when I got my first tattoo. I said this before on the podcast. My mom was like, well, you'll never have a real job. Like it was over. That was like, whoa. And I was like, good. You know what I mean?
You got tattoos for antisocial reasons.
Absolutely.
Now.
To me, Bon Scott was my man,
I was the first guy I ever saw like with tattoos. I went to see them open for UFO when I was like 11.
Yeah.
And it was like $6 at the Palladium, and he came out barefoot in bell bottoms with no shirt on and tattoos, and I was frightened of this guy with that voice.
Today was the day he died.
Oh, really? Right. February 19th, huh?
Yeah.
He died in Camden in England.
In his car, man.
Yeah, after a night of too many sodas, huh?
Yeah. It's such a rough ride, man. He was like, 34 or something. It's weird to think about, all those guys that we lost, Yeah,
the past year, we lost so many folks, too.
But those guys lived a long life. You compare, when you think about it, like, so for guys to live in their 60s and 70s, for how hard they beat it up, it's a miracle,
I just remember like 15 years ago, around 50 for some of these cats, like Joe Strummer died at 50, and Joe Ramone and all the Ramones. There's like a certain period where I think it is like a statistical thing with health where you either check out at this age, if you get through this hurdle of like guys in their 50s, then you make it to this next level. I mean,
I'm 51 right now. I just turned 51 last week, right? And I'm like, holy shit, man, I can't believe I'm here.
Well, you look young. Keep taking the vitamins.
It's
Keep snorting that spirulina.
Yeah, I mean, I did shitloads of drugs. Did you back in the day?
I never tried drugs. No.
Really?
I still never tried coke. I always say I was so naive. All through the 90s, I thought everybody had a cold.
Yeah.
But no, the idea of I drink, and I've gone through periods where I don't. I'm pretty much into health stuff, but I do like tequila and beers and that romance with alcohol. And even though it's a poison for sure, and it's not great for everybody, but it's a government-regulated thing. You kind of know what's going to happen. Well, some people you don't, but at least with me. But the idea of putting something in my nose that somebody cut in some back room or some kid stomping on coca leaves with their sores on their feet, and sniffing it up your nose, it just didn't do it for me. And then what I was going to say, the early days of hardcore, we really felt like, all right, we missed out on this whole 70s thing and it was over. But now there's this thing happening that we felt part of. And at 14, I put out my first single with Heart Attack, was the band I had, God Is Dead. And it was a 7-inch. I think it was the first New York hardcore release.
What year is that, 81?
81, on Damaged Goods label, which was a fanzine at the time, writing about shows.
Now, while you're into that, are you into like Too Fast for Love, Motley Crue?
No, I had to cut through all that and get away from everything like that because we grew up into Aerosmith. Kiss was the first concert I ever saw. Ted Nugent was, I remember at one point in my life, Ted Nugent was the most fucked up thing you could listen to before I heard AC/DC.
Oh, yeah, Double Live Gonzo was my Bible.
Anybody come here to be mellow and turn around and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this was the shit.
Can you hear me?
This was the shit to piss your parents
off. Oh, my God.
off.
Stranglehold?
Yeah.
Stormtrooping?
Just what the doctor ordered.
Oh, that fucking record. He was the reason, I saw AC/DC because I was going to see Ted Nugent and AC/DC was open. And I was like, oh, my God.
That, I think, was a midnight special where I first saw them. I think either he was the host, maybe.
Wow.
And they came out and did Sin City. And I
remember. I've seen that. I've seen that on YouTube.
I'm in. But before I saw AC/DC, Nugent was like the most fucked up, wild, intense thing you could get into, at least to me. And then we got into punk, though it really felt like this was not, we had to cut away from that. We cut our hair. We cut away from all the cock rock stuff. It was about being there right now, creating something. And those kind of like do-it-yourself, eat those kind of whatever, that stuck with me now, even through my songwriter or folk singer or rock and roll career, having that kind of thing. Like, we can make shit happen. All right, there's not a club, we'll build a club. You need to get there. Someone will let us crash. There's ways, that PMA, that positive mental attitude. And the Bad Brains had that. And people like Ian Mackay and Jello Biafra and my friend David Surgeon from Reagan Youth were talking about we're going to be in your face. We're going to look crazy. We're going to be fucked up and question everything that's happening. And we're going to be straight. So deal with that. It used to be like, oh yeah, Sid Vicious, he was a junkie. I used to get beat up in Queens because they figured, if I like punk, killed my girlfriend, I'm a heroin addict, I'm
easy
a homosexual.
to beat him up.
And there was this close-mindedness. Now, if you saw Black Sabbath play with the Ramones at a Lollapalooza, it'd be
just
like the
normal.
perfect bill. Then, Ramones opened for Black Sabbath. They got bottles thrown at them. Like, there was separation, the way, in England,
even in the metal world, too, like Metallica, they would be over at the Mabuhay and there'd be a glam band playing, and they'd be throwing kill posers, Exodus, Paul Bailoff, all that, kill posers. That was all they would say all the time,
Wow.
It was really radical, kind of in a cock rock way of metal, and angry, that whole thing.
All that separate stuff, you see in Quadrophenia, the Mods and the Rockers, or, growing up, you'd hear about the Skins and the punks in England and people that would really fight for what they believed in. And I'm so not into violence and so not into your team and my team. It becomes like sports,
Yeah.
But there is
exactly. I don't like that jock mentality.
But there is something great about being so into what you're into. And at some point in the 90s, people got oh yeah, I like everything. I'd meet some girl, what kind of music? You're like, I like everything. And to me, it's there's good and bad music in the world, two kinds. But it's not like I like everything. And Lollapalooza and other festivals were great. They brought people together with different styles of music. And people could dig it, but there is something to be said, not in the violent close-mindedness, but that you're so into your thing that you'll die for it, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess there's probably some middle ground on that, but I did the hardcore thing for a while. We toured with Heart Attack all around the world. We played out in California. We stayed at the Maxim Rock and Roll House up in the Bay Area with Tim Yohannan and Jeff
You did
Bale.
the Mabuhay?
Did Mabuhay with Ness.
Ness died last year.
Oh, really?
What a bummer, man. I didn't even know he was still alive, which is crazy.
He was there. Dirk Dirksen.
Dirk Dirksen.
Then we played upstairs at on Broadway. It was
Rock
with
on Broadway.
GBH, yeah.
Yeah.
Some band, the Blackouts, maybe. I don't know who I was on tour with in their van with GBH. And then
That Rock on Broadway was cool, right?
yeah, that place
Man,
was
you just
sick.
go upstairs and just fucking, like, what the fuck is this? Just giant stage, huge room.
Curtain and everything. It's like when you picture they shot Lincoln in there. And then across was the Stone or something.
Yeah, that was the place I ran.
All right. Wow.
Yeah, 412 Broadway, brother.
I feel like there was a little record store downstairs.
No, it was a rock shop that had like photos and spike bracelets
All right.
and rock shirts and everything. And then a killer tattoo shop, Henry Goldfield, who did all my tattoos. And then a little deli there that sold to minors. So it was ultimate. You go in there and just buy beers. They never ID'd anyone. And then go into the Stone and just get fucking lit.
And City Lights Books not too far from there.
Still
right?
there.
Yeah, and
Still
I
there.
remember thinking, like, this is like if all the rock clubs and punk clubs were on 42nd Street, so you could go, like, because we were kids, you know, we couldn't get any action with girls, but we'd go to 42nd Street, hit a few peep shows, get out that testosterone, and then go down to a gig, you know, go see the Dead Kennedys or whatever. But we'd always make a deposit up at one of the peep show spots.
Yeah.
And
those things were crazy back then, man. I remember first time in New York, just venturing down to 42nd and seeing that shit. You're like, this is just like Taxi Driver, you know?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it was just, you're in it. And Times Square, I mean, they cleaned it up and it's changed so much. But, you know,
So
people
much.
need some kind of outlet like that. I don't know if it's exactly the right perfect thing, but it just seems like they pushed it into the dark. And I used to go, because I was go there to buy guitar strings on 48th Street Music Row, and right around the corner was the peep show spots. So, you know, you're 13, 14, you're just full of all this energy and sex and testosterone, and then, you know, you couldn't get anything in Queens. The girls didn't want to look at me. I didn't look like the rest of the kids. I was all punk rocked up.
Yeah.
So I was in this mindset, like, I don't
But Queens, that's Ramones out there, right?
that's where they're from, but, you know, nobody out there was into that then. Yeah, that's what they left. They came to the city to live in the city.
I got to, yeah.
You know, Joe Ramone got beat up in Queens as a freak, and, you know, you're a freak, you're a weirdo.
I went by that apartment building there where they live. My buddy Chris took me there.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's amazing that I took a photo in that subway shoot right there, their famous photo shoot.
Oh, in Forest Hills. Yeah. Bob Gruen shot that photo.
Yeah, I took a photo right there, and I love. I'm way into that stuff, like going to see where stuff, you know, the ground zero, and it's interesting to think about right there, those fucking guys and Kiss, you know,
In that
all
same
in there.
area, yeah,
Isn't that
totally.
crazy?
And Simon and Garfunkel, too.
Wow,
And
man.
Mountain.
Oh my God.
Who else
That's-
from Queens? Murphy's Law. No, but anyway, I would go, and I'd go into one side was like this building, you know, with less gals, with the peep shows and all the shit, heterosexual thing. Next to it was the gay place. All right, this was the gay one. And I go in the straight one, you know, check out the chicks, and it'd be some old guy like coming on and cruising me. I'd be like, "What the fuck? I'm in the straight one." I didn't realize, like, of course, the gay guy's coming into the see the young boys in the straight. He's like, I was like, "Wait, I'm in the straight one. I'm not in the gay." You know, I learned quick.
Yeah.
But luckily, all those late night, you know, rides and waiting for buses and dressed up in a, you know, old man raincoat and combat boots, cars would slow down. And, you know, I went to a high school where they were running in the city a male prostitution ring out of the times when nobody was watching. And it was funny that see my friends get into trouble, but also I was blessed to stay out of it and to not have ended up in situations where just to get a new guitar I could have corrupted myself more than I would have liked to.
Yeah, I mean, New York is pretty fucking dirty back then. It's interesting that you didn't get into the whole drug scene, even to experiment, you know?
Yeah, I just didn't understand. We'd go to an after-hours place, and there was no bands, and people were there till late 7, 8 in the morning, and I couldn't figure out, you know, why would they listen to this electronic music and standing around with sand on the floor or whatever. There's nothing going on here. Let's go home. It was all about bands for me.
Yeah.
Of course, then, you know, once you realize people are there getting fucked up and they want to get laid, but there were so many after-hours clubs. It made no sense.
Yeah.
It makes more sense maybe now, but at that age, it was all about going to shows. And I did the hardcore thing till I was about 16. In 1984, the last Heart Attack gig was the first Chromax gig. It was July 4th, CBGB's 84 matinee. HR was on the bill, Agnostic Front, and it was the first Chromax gig with Little Eric was singing before Eric Casanova. I just remember feeling that it was time to get out, not really because of the Chromax, but the whole scene in general outside had become everything that I was against, which was conformity and it was very macho and metal and, you know, all these things. It started to become like everything I ran away from in Queens for this fresh, you know, open-minded thing. But at that point, I had become really serious. Me and my friends were like these anarchists. We had this anarchist collective, and we would have meetings and talk about like how we're going to do stuff, demonstrations, and we really got into that MDC, Dead Kennedys, crass kind of like, you know, peace punk thing. And I remember we would go, you know, to this one guy's house, like it was a singer in a band, the False Prophets. He'd say he's an anarchist, and we loved him, but we were like, all right, Stefan, they say you're an anarchist, you got to get rid of that porno. And me and my girlfriend went to his house and made him throw out all his porno.
Whoa.
And then,
you guys were like crazy.
yeah,
like,
it's kind of embarrassing.
It's almost like Christian punk.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. And then there
Like
was
you guys were the Striper of punk.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
And then there was a guy who was more anarchist than me, you know, would be like, well, Jesse, you know, you like all those records, you know, Aerosmith and Kiss and, you know, all that. That's real sexist shit. Zeppelin, you got to sell those records. So I laid out a sheet on St. Mark's Place, and I sold all the records. And then he was like, you got to get rid of the Dead Boys, all that punk stuff. The Dead Boys are sexist. I'm like, oh, okay. And I sold the Dead Boys records. And then he went,
those records are worth money.
and he's like, Iggy Pop, man, Iggy Pop, it's degrading the way. I was like, not the Iggy, no. And then I sold the Iggy records.
Whoa.
And of course, a few years later, I bought them all back from different places, not the same records, but you know, realize you got to have a sense of humor and that it's art and, you know, nothing is as perfect. You can become so politically correct that you become a fucking government and you become a judgmental Nazi.
It's so
trying
true.
to be so like, hey, you're wearing leather. Hey, this, you know, like, you do the best you can, and obviously in these times people are doing more and more. Some of it's trendy, some of it's fashion. I have friends that are like vegetarians and vegans their whole life. They're like, I don't say the V word. I'm like, what do you mean, vagina? Like, no, I don't say. And I'm like, what do you say? He goes, I'm plant-based organic. And and I get, you know, I try to eat really well, and I like to work out. You know, I like to jog wherever I'm going. I go for runs and all that, you know, and be responsible about the planet. But you can only do so much, too. You do as much as you can, but you're going to be corrupted somewhere.
Yeah.
And so we just get heavy in judging people and trying to, you know, make this perfected, you know, anarchist thing.
It's insane out there.
Yeah, we got pretty silly. I look back and I laugh and want to apologize to some of my friends, but they know we were growing up. You know, you have a lot of big values and beliefs and, you know, faith in things.
So is that at the period of once you say, hey, man, I've gone too far, you start to search out something new and you get it, you know, get into that like Coney Island, the club and D-Generation, all that. At what point do you start to get into that? Because to me, I talked to Ralph Sutton about it. To me, New York was really kind of 70s, and then I was there in the 80s and went around, and I was like, God, this is like nothing going on here, just cover bands and stuff. And then Limelight hits for me, and it's like really booming. I go, holy shit, Limelight, this is happening, you know? Yeah. Of course, I get a million emails all the time. You don't know what you're talking about. You missed this and that, you know, but I know all the early stuff of like, you know, L'Amour's and all that stuff, but I'm saying I didn't really see anything going on in New York until really Limelight. Then after that, your whole thing, Coney Island and your band and everything. But by then, I'm really into full-blown Wilco, Ryan, Sunvolt, you know, even Black Crowes, once they get into kind of the stoner era of like Three Snakes and Amorica and all that. So I kind of missed that, but I did have, of course, I had No Lunch, you know, but I didn't see anything after that. So when does that really kind of hit in New York, you know?
Well, for me, the 80s, I guess, you know, yeah, L'Amour's was starting to happen in 84, 85, Motorhead, and, you know, all those bands, Slayer, were starting to come around. But the 80s also had a club called Danceteria where there was a woman named Ruth Polsky that brought over a lot of English bands like Smiths and Jesus and the Mary Chain and the Pogues, and they played for, you know, small crowds in a small club, bands that, you know, sell out arenas right now.
Right.
And as funny as that was, it was a weird time. A lot of college rock. I mean, we'd go see the Replacements. But after I broke up Heart Attack in 84, I had a band called Hope, which is more like what I do now. It was influenced by, you know, Elton John, Billy Bragg, Bruce Springsteen, the Replacements.
Neil Young.
You know, Neil Young and Graham Parker and The Rumor and that kind of song-driven, Paul Weller, whatever. And I did that for a while, but I was going through crazy times. My mom got sick, and she passed away, and I had to move back to Queens to take care of my sister. And I always didn't want to work a straight job. I couldn't focus on school. I was going to this really weird school called the School for Young Professionals because they wouldn't let me go on tour at the school in Queens. So we went to this like school in the city that was supposedly set up for showbiz kids. But now they were running a male prostitution ring, and everybody was drinking in the hallways. And it really had degenerated literally since the 50s. It's called Quintanos. Johnny Thunders went there. Steven Tyler, before me.
It's like
Bernadette
a school?
Peters. Yeah, it was a school, high school.
It's like a shady school.
Yeah, well, become a shady school. It was legit. When I was a freshman, Diane Lane, the actress, was a senior, and she was graduating. It was about the last legit person, whatever. Maybe besides me, but my friend Andy Apathy from Reagan Youth turned me on to the school.
What kind of family are you from? Is it a rich family?
Definitely not. My mom was a makeup artist waitress, worked in, the mall and the makeup counter. She did different things. My dad and her split up when I was, 7 or 8.
Right.
So I lived with my mom in Queens, my sister in
Flushings.
I was born in Flushing, yeah.
Right.
So it's kind of small. We had a studio apartment, then a one bedroom, the three of us. I was kind of embarrassed to, have people over for a while, but then got a little bit better. My mom, was a hustler. She was in her late 20s, and she would, be the mom and the dad, work, go have a social life, and somehow, we would spend some time with babysitters when she could afford it, and that's how I got exposed to a lot of great music.
Of course.
And movies. And if I didn't see that movie, I couldn't sneak in. I'd read the Mad Magazine spoof of it and pretend I saw the movie.
Yeah.
But my mom, she was a frustrated singer that would just sing in the mirror, or in the car to the radio. So it gave me that energy, and she was supportive of me, doing this at a young age.
What about your dad? What'd he do?
He was an accountant, worked for different companies, and he lived in Jersey and in Florida. And we weren't as connected back then, but over time, he's still alive. And my mom passed away when she was 42. But he
how'd she pass?
It was breast cancer, but it was like a long, drawn-out 5-year, with the chemo and all that. It really sucked, And she was young. Back in those days, not that we have all the answers that they're letting out, but it was tougher, I think, for us.
Yeah, that's young, man.
Yeah, it was rough. But so yeah, I just kind of need to do things on my own to figure out how to not do a straight job. I worked at gas stations, I worked in health food stores, but then I got a van, and I bought like a used van for pretty cheap, and I was able to use that to move other bands or move furniture. We would be a moving guy. I had like a pager and put up flyers, 24/7, 24-hour service. Put the flyers up all over the East Village.
I just got an app on this. It's like you were the first one, but Buddy Truck.
Oh, is that what it is?
You're sitting on this couch. I just got it a couple of days ago. And,
it's a good couch.
You're the first guy on it, because that couch there is like people. I'd see them sitting on it, and they'd be like, "Oh God, this thing's uncomfortable."
This couch is good.
This couch.
Yeah,
is great.
we used to move those Castro converters that would pop out, and like this iron thing would knock you down. We move pianos upstairs. New York, tenement apartments or anywhere, there's tight stairways a lot of times. And I worked for everybody from the Ramones to the Swans to Barbra Streisand to people that had dead dogs we had to remove to. And I would hire my friends and guys in the band, and we
you would get these random pages, and it'd be like Barbra Streisand.
Well, that came from some relationship or something.
But that's pretty. Did you see her?
We went up to her apartment in Central Park West, and she popped in. We had to move this bed down to Manhattan Mini Storage. It's a long story, but she was kind of uptight. But
I love her, man.
Yeah, I back her. Yeah, I think her, Neil Diamond, and Woody Allen, they all went to that same high school in that Midwood section of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Erasmus, I forget the name of it, but there's always people that are from this one little pocket of time in Brooklyn.
I'm so into Stars Born, man.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that when I was a kid.
John Norman Howard Speedway.
Yeah, right. Watch closely now. And then I'm a Werewolf or whatever that one.
Yeah, that was like I got to see a rock concert on I went to the movies, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. He rode his motorcycle on stage.
Yeah, right. Bill Graham was up there,
Yeah, I remember that. Chris Christopherson's a good actor. He's like, what in that?
He was great in that.
Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, Scorsese film.
I learned some shit in that too. I learned about Ferraris.
All right.
I learned about motorcycle, getting radical like that. And then I learned about New Mexico, that whole fucking, you're learning like these things right there on that film.
You're just picking it up. Yeah. This is what the world, I would see a lot of movies. I really love 70s film, and I would sneak into a lot of films. And then I just wanted to go into the city. So I'd take the bus to the train, and then we'd take it from the first stop to get off at Times Square. And you walked into Midnight Cowboy. You walked into Taxi Driver. And then.
How about Saturday Night Fever? Fever. Did you ever go to that 2000 before it was
No,
torn
I mean, I
down?
liked the movie. I could, it was exciting as a film, but I wasn't so much into the disco scene. I was like, at that time, into Kiss and Cheap Trick. And
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like, fuck disco. You get into fights with disco boys. And
It's funny
got
because
beat
I
up by
loved
those
both,
kids.
man.
Yeah, that's good, though.
It's
That's
so
open-minded.
weird. I was way into Saturday Night Fever, man. I mean, it hit me like a punch in the face. I just like the camaraderie of the dudes. It was like a rock band.
Yeah, it's
That
like Mean
scene-
Streets. It's
that-
like a
yeah.
Scorsese movie,
That scene when he walks in, he's all, stop fucking around. We're the faces, because meaning let's look cool when we walk in. They got those car coats on, and that Impala and shit. It's
You broke my pussy finger.
That shit is great, right?
Look at me. Yeah, no, it's great. It's real New York. Like, it had characters in it. It showed that background. I mean, that whole Brooklyn thing. And I love the music. I mean, but just at the time, you had to pick what
course.
you're into. And it meant so much to be into Kiss, or it meant so much to
Yeah.
be into punk. And, but yeah, so I was the man with van, did all that to like stay out of a day job, would do, whatever. And then you could use the van to move your own gear, to put that Marshall and that SVT in the back or whatever. But I'd be going to this high school and in the city. And my buddy, rest in soul, Andy Apathy from Reagan Youth, he said, Jesse, you got I see, a Japanese guitar. Don't you want to get a Gibson? And I'm like, yeah, I want to get a Gibson SG. Well, you got a Japanese. And I'd watch in biology class, these guys with suits would come in and point to different kids.
Yeah.
And I'd look out the window downstairs at these town cars. And
Whoa.
they'd leave. And I'm like, I want to get out of biology class. Fuck. And he's like, yeah, Jess, why don't you come with us? You can get a Gibson guitar. You come down to Atlantic City with these guys. And you hang out with these rich old ladies while their husbands are playing blackjack. And they suck on your balls for hours and you get money. And
What?
once in a while, you got to be with a guy. And I was like, I think I'll stay in biology class.
No
whatever.
shit.
I'll get
How
my.
shady is that? Now, this school
Yeah.
was running that?
Yeah, well, it was in there. It was behind the scenes. Dr. Quintana was like 90 at the time, so he didn't really know what was going on. But there was an article about this in Spin. I think they called it the real rock and roll high school.
Wow.
So I got out of there,
But, but
and
who hears about this? Like, hey, we send town cars up to this
it
school.
was just going on, man. And, I looked out every day kids were leaving, and I was like, I want to get out of here. I want to go to, whatever. But. Yeah.
And like teachers or nothing said anything?
No, nobody said anything. And the woman who was in that class teaching was Mrs. Joyce. I'm sure she's not alive, but her son was Ed Begley Jr.
Wow.
Who's actually in The In-Laws, and is he in Spinal Tap? I mean, he's saying Elsewhere.
Yeah.
And he would come in and say hello. And I knew him from that. That's a great movie if you've ever seen The In-Laws with Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. Really funny movie. But he plays like a CIA guy in that. But anyway, enough of that. So I would just start doing it. So the 80s was like a time when I was kind of like trying to make stuff happen and I couldn't get to go. And by the end of the 80s, early 90s, all that hair band stuff, all that California stuff was going, all that funky Chili Pepper stuff. And it was cool, but me and my friends couldn't relate, and we didn't want to get stuck in some club on New Year's Eve listening to all this like stuff that you heard on the radio, that you heard in people's cars. So we wanted to throw a party at a loft, like punk rock style, but a party that we played records and people would maybe dress up and dance, like to the Stooges and Funkadelic and Sly and the Family Stone and, old R&B mixed with the Cramps. And we did. We called it the Green Door. It was at this guy's loft in Chelsea, this guy
Yeah.
Giorgio Gamelski.
Named after the Mitchell Brothers movie?
Well, the door was green, and it had so many, possibilities. The movie or the song by Jim Lowe that the Cramps did, Green Door.
Right.
But literally, the door was green, so it just happened. And we threw this party, and it was packed, and people dressed up, and we had our girlfriends sell beers that we bought at the distributor and sold them for $3, and we made a bunch of money. And then we did it. The people were like, oh, you got to do that again. It was so much fun. The fact that people danced to records, they didn't just stand around and act too cool. That
Kind
they
of like
dressed
Cat
up.
House out here.
Yeah.
Ricky had that full-blown thing, Cat House. And did you ever go to that, or were you
I
too
think
young?
I might have stopped in at that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I
that shit
did.
was the bomb, man. And that's kind of how Coney Island gets started.
Yeah, because we did that, and then we'd start to do it more often. And then next thing I wasn't moving anybody with the furniture, and we started to form D-Generation. We played at one of the parties just for fun. And then we started to do the club at different other clubs, because this guy, when the summer came, he didn't have an air conditioning in his loft. It was too fucking hot. So we moved it around. And we ended up on St. Mark's at a place that had been open only one night a week called Boy Bar, Gay Bar. And then we would do our thing once a week, and they'd make more money in our one night than he had seen in a long time. So I ended up taking over with some other Mexican restaurant entrepreneurs, and I didn't know what to do. I hired all my friends. I called it Coney Island High because
Yeah.
I love Coney Island, the amusement park.
I love that
And
place.
the beach. And I wanted it to be like rock and roll high school.
Yeah.
So I put the two together, and it it's in Manhattan. It's like Max's Kansas City. Yeah, it's not in Kansas City. So it was like kind of like that. And I hired everybody. I got a record deal with D-Generation. I'm on tour with Kiss, and I'm going to be a rock star in my
Yeah, you
own
went out
mind.
tour with Kiss. I was looking Green Day,
Yeah, so I'm
Offspring.
on this crazy tour, and I don't know how to run a place, and everybody's giving everything away. It was 5 years that people had a blast, but I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and everybody just, drank free, and snuck in, and that's probably why it was so much fun. But
Did
as
you
a
own the
business-
building?
No,
eventually?
it was just a lease. Yeah, nothing.
Yeah.
I wasn't smart. I didn't know what I was doing. And we got closed down during the Giuliani time. Mayor came in. He was a real Nazi, and he closed us down for dancing.
Giuliani?
Yeah, he was
Whoa.
his quality of life. It was like Footloose.
Whoa.
And dancing is one or two more people, two and onward amount of people doing something. We could play patty cake, and they could say that's dancing. But so they would come in these full-on raids, these raid marches with the cops and the consumer affairs and the fire department, and they'd bust you for dancing.
That's when he wants to start cleaning up 42nd Street and all that shit,
and
right?
everything. You couldn't brown bag a beer. You couldn't jaywalk. You couldn't hang out in the park. You couldn't. It was nuts. I went to jail 3 times during Giuliani era, and they were all for stupid things.
Wow.
One time hanging up a poster for Scotch tape. The night I played Madison Square Garden, which is like a New Yorker's dream, with Kiss.
Yeah.
They threw us out of the dressing rooms after our set. They wanted the area because it was New York and privacy. We've been on the road with them 2 weeks, so all right, I'm going to go downtown and celebrate. Just play
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. Grew up in New
The
York.
Garden, how was that, dude?
Surreal. It was funny because
What Kiss tour are we talking?
the reunion when they got back with Ace.
Oh,
and
96.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great tour.
Yeah, it was like 1977 on that
Fuck,
stage
I
every
went to
night.
that, dude.
Yeah.
How great was that?
It was pretty nuts. And, I still think about it today in perspective to laughing at our president, Donald Trump, that I remember my bass player's family, his parents were so excited because they had better seats than Donald Trump. He
Wow.
was, 20 rows behind them. We've been laughing at this guy in New York, for years. Like, whatever. The world's maybe some people just getting aware of him in the last 5-10 years. But, we grew up in New York. This guy was around. Yeah, he had worse seats. It was a thing to play there. It meant something. I mean, we were opening, and it was, once you get there, you realize.
Did you have to pay to do the tour?
We didn't, but I think somebody worked something out where somebody knew management, a friend kind of a deal where I think our managers were owed a favor, or I don't know, something from Doc McGee, the managers of
Right.
Kiss. So we did 2 weeks with them, and then after that, I mean, who knows? With Gene Simmons, maybe they were paid and blown and whatever. But
Yeah.
But I went outside to celebrate, to go downtown, and I'm not even on the street. I'm under this pavilion outside. Cops roll up on me. I got a Rolling Rock beer. I got my laminate with my picture and Gene Simmons. I'm like, dude. He's like, open container. You're going downtown. I'm like, dude, I just played the Garden. I'm a New Yorker. I waited my whole life.
Yeah.
Showed him my credentials. I'm not even on the sidewalk. Boom. 2 days later, you're going on the weekend. You don't come out, see the
Yeah.
church till Monday. It's so busy. It was a weird time. And Coney Island High got closed after 5 years.
So he comes in there and actually shuts it down, Footloose style?
No. What they do is they come down and they keep rating you, and the fines get higher and higher.
Right.
You got to hire lawyers, and then you got to stop the dance parties. Now, when people are dancing, they're drinking all night. When they go to see a show, they're in and out.
Yeah.
1 or 2 beers. But if you're doing a DJ till 4 a.m., people get lost in the moment, whatever. So once you stop that, it's different.
How many people were in there at night?
Maybe 400 or 500. I don't know.
Every night?
No, some nights there'd be 50 people there.
Right.
But we wanted to create a world like on the world that I thought that I missed. Like in the 70s, I missed out on Max's Studio 54, Mud Club, like what we heard about, the decadence.
Yeah.
When we grew up with our bands, it was the war on drugs and the war on sex and, AIDS. And it was a really crazy time. And I mean, it gave you a lot to sing about and feel, but it just seemed like we missed so much. We missed out on the wild times. It wasn't the same. So we were trying to create that with our band, with D-Generation, be this band that, would be the group we'd want to go see or be in if when we were fans, like this poor man's Rolling Stones, this poor man's Aerosmith, this Dead Boys
Faces.
Dolls, that thing. And we all grew up together. It was all guys I knew from Queens. And so it was like a gang. It was a brotherhood. We all hang out together. We all had the same sense of humor. We'd all lived together at different times. We'd all worked in my moving business or DJ'd or scammed records or scammed drinks or chased girls and made trouble. So we'd gone back to the hardcore days, most of us, and had that. And so DJ was like a rock band. We wanted to be this rock and roll band with a punky attitude. But we got misunderstood. People thought we were a glam band or some Sunset Strip pair thing. And, if I look at the pictures, I guess, I could see maybe where...
Well, it is a little bit of, at that time, you've kind of got like that has kind of gone away. So then it's kind of like, are these guys wearing costumes?
Yeah.
You know? But I was really into, did you ever get into like X-Idols?
I don't know them. Maybe I've seen their name, but I don't know their stuff. No.
Great fucking band. And there was some stuff going on like that, you know, around LA and San Francisco. There's always a few guys that are keeping the torch going. But really, what it came down to with D-Generation and X-Idols, which I love, is songwriting. Because you can put the outfits on, but if you don't have the songs, it don't mean shit. You know what I mean? And you had great songs on that first record.
Well, thanks. I mean, for us, we weren't, there just to be singing about like penises and cars and girls. I mean, it was some of that, but it was more social, more about alienation, more, anger driven kind of, situations, just trying to, I guess, fight off all the things that you get hit with on a daily level in society. So the lyrics were, I think, more coming from that place, but we always got lumped into things that, we didn't really feel was us. And so it was very frustrating. Then we'd go on tour with all these bands like Offspring and Green Day, and people just wanted the fastest stuff. They just wanted the pit at that point, the mosh pit. So I could have been singing anything, and I felt like people weren't really getting it, even though we had a great run of 7 years and 3 records and toured all over the world. And I think the people that got it really got it, but it was on a cult level.
Yeah.
And, we love each other so much that we figured we'd put this on hold for a bit. And I had been listening to, more of what I grew up on, part of what I grew up on, songwriters, Neil Young and Jim Croce and Nebraska, Springsteen, and of course now, it's the late 90s and things like Wilco and Ryan Adams, Whiskey Town, and I was really into Steve Earle.
Yeah, Steve Earle.
Because he had that rock and roll thing, but he had a consciousness, and it was political, but it was great songs.
Even Paul Weller with Heavy Soul.
Yeah.
When you start getting it, and of course Petty is killing it with the Wildflowers record.
Right.
And all that singer-songwriter stuff.
Jayhawks,
man, with
so
Smile.
I'm sitting in the back of the bus, and I'm listening to that, even, listening to Counting Crows. We're covering the Satellites album. And
August and Everything After.
Yeah.
Those first 2 records, right? And then of course, Jacobs,
Bring Down the Horse.
Bringing Down the Horse record.
Get it, yeah. And the Paul Westerberg solo stuff. So I started, break it down, and the band ended, and I ended up back in New York, not on the road, DJing on Monday nights, doing a thing called Memory Motel, playing sad records and Tears and Beers or whatever. And Ryan came to New York, and he was, new there. He was deciding whether he was going to live there, and we started palling around, and him, and then Pete Yorn's record came out. But it was that he really gave me the confidence as a friend and as a person and a support to go like, yeah, you're the guy that writes the songs, and you book the rehearsals, and you do just call it Jesse Malin. And to me, being a solo artist sounded like, Jethro Tull. No, I don't know. It just sounded like it was going to be, very adult and serious. And then he kind of gave me the faith, and I thought about like Johnny Thunders and some of the other people I had looked up to, that you can kind of just go under your own name, and it doesn't have to be James Taylor, which I like, but you don't have to put on Hush Puppies, get a mustache, and sit on a stool, And then Ryan had that attitude and that swagger and that.
Where do you meet him at?
We met in D-Generation tour of 96 in Raleigh at a place called The Brewery in the parking lot. We had mutual friends that you guys got to meet, and we stayed in touch, phone calls and that kind of stuff. And he'd come to New York, we'd hang out. Went to a lot of Whiskey Town gigs, and we just would talk about lyrics and songs, and then we'd go to weird bars and drink, and he'd write and I'd write. Not as much as him. And then he went solo and did his thing, and then I started to go, all right, I'm not just going to make this a band. I'm going to go on my own. And and he just said, I'll produce your record. And of course, he kept his promise. Like after a year later, I'd had all the songs, and we went in the studio, and he only had about a week, and I think we used 5 days. I only had enough money for 5 days, and we did it very live on the floor, not a lot of overdubs, at a studio called Loho, and that became Fine Art of Self-Destruction. And that came out. And suddenly people are writing about the lyrics, and they understand what I'm saying. And I'm like, wow, stripping this down, like it felt like really nice to have a second chance or a new life. And I went on tour in Europe, and that, suddenly people are singing along. They knew the song.
Were you opening for Ryan at all?
We did for Ryan a lot. He was really generous and supportive, and Counting Crows and
Counting Crows. Which tour?
I think it was the third record.
Desert Life or something.
Yeah.
There's a great song on that. I think it's called 4 Days or something. It's really good.
Yeah, there's another one called Mrs. Potter's Lullaby.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one, too.
That's a good, long, cool, like Dylan song. Yeah, that's great. And so I started doing my thing, and I was doing that. Now I'm looking at, 7, 8, 9 records later. And this summer, about a year and a half ago, put out 2 records, Outsiders and New York Before the War. But then after that, this past July put out the first D-Generation record with the same 5 guys, same buddies. Nothing Is Anywhere. That came out in July.
I was bummed I missed that.
We played the Roxy.
Man.
Yeah.
That's such. How's that going?
It's been cool. Like, we do that. We all have different things that we do that are our main gig, some of us. But, we get together. There's some kind of energy with the 5 of us. That, it's just,
people coming out on the tour?
In the major cities. People that like that band love that band. But, we do a lot of festivals, too. That was the thing. Spain and places like that. They love, the cool rock. So, there's people that get excited and it's fun and challenging to be all physical and not have a guitar and get to just jump around. I get to play my body instead of my Les Paul or whatever. And some of the tensions are still there that we used to have, but some of it's exciting. The record, Danny Sage, the guitar player, produced it. I think there's some really cool songs. There's a lot of stuff that we're able to still find places where we can get out our angst and anger on the world and draw from things that exist. I mean, there's so much crazy shit going on right now.
It's insane.
I was able to pull all that, some of it anyway, into a record.
Yeah.
Nothing Is Anywhere. Yeah. So
how's this Bruce thing? I look at your career and it's hard not to be like, God, this guy's fucking had a blessed life. Even if, like, I look at you and it's like, this guy's perfect because it's not like you're looking to get rich, but you've got like some mad street cred. And, you've hung out with great, cool people. And then you do a song with Springsteen, man. I mean, that's the cream of the highest mark you could get, as far as
a song with Jacob Dylan, too.
Yeah, well, he's like my best friend, you know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. Also,
Same record.
Same record, yeah.
Yeah,
but
the Bruce
what
thing was surreal. Growing up, we didn't really get him. It's something my dad liked.
I hated him growing up.
Bob Seger and Bruce Springsteen. But when Nebraska came out, it changed my life. I was like, wow, this guy's a rock star, a millionaire. And look at this record. It's so raw and real. And just listening to him alone with the acoustic guitar. So then I was a fan for Born in the USA because I knew what his lyrics were about.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't care if the production is all huge and it's, American flags and bandanas. I said, this guy, it's not Rambo. This guy's singing some radical shit. Read the lyrics, punk rockers. Wise up.
Yeah.
And so I had mad respect for him. And we met him briefly out here with D-Generation, but he's such a fan. We signed to Columbia Records, and they brought us to some Grammy party at Jimmy's in Rodeo. And I was drinking tequila with him, and Robert De Niro, and Mike Ness was there. And it was a surreal night. But he goes, yeah, great article on you guys in Rolling Stone. I was like, wow, this guy really watches. His eyes are open. And that was, 95 or 94. But then, I don't know if he related it to the same thing, but sometime in 2002, after the first record, my solo record, Fine Art of Self-Destruction, came out, I ended up, I guess, playing a charity event in New Jersey, and somebody brought him over, and we started talking. He said, I've been hearing about your record, and I heard your version of Hungry Heart that you did.
Yeah, you did
really good.
The tribute record?
Yeah, and so my manager gave him a copy of Fine Art of Self-Destruction. He leaves, and that was it. We took a few photos.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, I get a call from my manager. She says, yeah, Bruce is going to call you up. He wants to talk to you about something. I was like, well, really? Wow, that's weird. Well, he didn't call for another week.
Yeah.
I figured this is not going to happen. Day after Thanksgiving, I get this call. He wants to talk about the record and how it was made, and we're on the phone for like an hour.
Wow.
And he says, want to do some shows. And there were charity shows in Jersey out in Asbury for the holidays in December.
Oh, he does that every year.
I'm like, yeah, I know some Christmas songs. He goes, no, we're going to play your songs. We're going to
What?
back you up. Queen of the Underworld, Wendy, blah, blah, blah. And he had Max Weinberg and Nils and went out there and rehearsed in Convention Hall, this old place.
I know that place.
Yeah.
It's incredible, right?
It's still the same,
Yeah.
And we rehearsed out there. And
He always rehearses there.
yeah, well, it's near his house. It works, right?
Yeah.
So we did that. We did 3 shows, and Danny DeVito's there, and David Chase from Sopranos, and Bon Jovi, and Sam from Sam and Dave. And Bruce is like, we're doing this 3 nights, and he's saying all this really nice stuff between songs about the record and giving me plugs, my sales, when there was sales back then in 2002 or 3 or whatever, they went up, and it was funny. And then we went out after one night. I got to ask him like questions about movies and stuff, and he was just so generous and loving. And we stayed in touch. I would go to different shows now and then and go backstage, and he a couple times called me up. I was like, I'm rehearsing this new thing, you want to come check it out? I was like, wow, I can't believe this is happening.
Insane, right?
And so he's that kind of guy. He's just that real and giving. So then I went to see him right before I was moving to LA to make Glitter in the Gutter. and he was playing the Seeger sessions up in Boston. I went, checked out the show, we talked, and I said, I'm going to LA, I'm starting my new record. He said, well, if you need me for anything, I'd love to be part of it.
Wow.
I was like, all right. In my mind, I thought, let's get him to play a guitar solo and go 1, 2, 3, 4, do something like that.
Yeah.
The guy producing the record, Rob Caggiano, was in Anthrax at the time. This heavy rock guy. He says, no, you should get him to do that song you wrote about your mom. You should do it as a duet. So I was like, I don't know. Okay, all right, maybe. All right, let's see.
It's such a great song.
So I sent him, thank you. I sent him the lyrics and a letter, and I'm living on Sunset and Vine. I'm driving a car to rent a car, and and I get the call, and it's him, and he's like, yeah, I really like the song, and you want to come out to the studio. So it's in Jersey. I'm living in LA, but the producer's like, fuck this, we're gonna do this. Talked to the label, they backed it. We flew out to New York, and we went out to his farm, and he came on the Harley and sang this song that it's about my mom who passed away, who was this frustrated singer, sang in the car, Broken Radio's the song. And we do it. We have a beer. We hang out in the kitchen, and it was unreal. And then it's done, and that's it. And then they go, we want to make it a single. It's when they still played videos on VH1 back in the old days or whatever, the 2000s. And so then Danny Clinch, great photographer and filmmaker, he's like, yeah, I'll do the video. And so got together with Bruce at his barn and his farm, and we two guys with acoustic guitars standing around. You know how much dead time there is on a long day of shooting. So I'm playing shit to see if he knows. Like, you ever heard of Motorhead? I'm trying to see. He goes, no, I don't know them. But he knew like the 101ers or Graham Parker.
Yeah.
We're going back and forth. He's playing Zeppelin going, I never got into this back in the day, but I like these riffs now. And I'm like, yeah, you were probably listening to Van Morrison back then. Yeah, but,
right.
But he was so cool, and it was great. And we did the video. And then over the years, we've done that song live a couple times, Broken Radio. And
it's so good.
We've done some charity stuff, but he's always very, very giving and present. You could bring like your best friend backstage and go, hey, you want to meet Bruce? And he'll be like there. Me and Jacob went recently to the Garden, and it was like, he's just such a regular guy.
Yeah.
And he's so fucking, great, and such a great band leader, and so popular, you forget. And then suddenly you're just hanging out. Like, he gets the jokes. He's a fucking, music guy, movie guy.
Yeah. He's incredible, man. I didn't get him till Ghost of Tom Joad.
I like that song, Highway 29.
Oh, man. I love Youngstown.
That's a good one, too, yeah.
That Ghost of Tom Joad hits me, and then it changes my life, and I become completely obsessed with Springsteen. Obsessed with him,
Yeah, it's one of those things. You get into that, it opens up a big door.
Yeah, I'm more the first three records, It's just, everybody loves Nebraska, but I like the first two, and then, of course, but Born to Run, and then Darkness on the Edge of Town.
Darkness is the best. And The River's great, too.
Yeah, this guy just
He had
kills.
a run, like Bill Flanagan, this writer, a friend of mine, said, from Greetings to Tell Love, it's like this perfect run, like that nobody, it's just so great. Then he got married, had kids, and he did his thing, and he made other great records, but it's just, you could hear, like, the guy was on a mission and just wrote and worked his ass off. And the shows are still fucking great. So, so that was really, it was wild, and kind of like a weird, surreal dream. But he was so into that first record that it was just nice to be like, I put this music out there, and then to get a phone call and be like, how'd you make it? I want to know, how was it recorded? And I was like, well, it was done real fast, and got to credit Ryan on that. I think Ryan's getting pretty into Bruce. The other night I saw he covered Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but
that's how Ryan is. He gets into this thing like he was way dead 7 years ago. You know.
I think that got him back into roots music. The Dead. I think it got him back. After he did rock and roll and some of those other records. But
I love the Dead now. Like I did. I grew up in San Francisco, Bay Area. I never got into it.
I was with you. I hated it, but now I like it too. I did something with Bob Weir out in Marin County in San Rafael.
Oh, at his place.
Yeah, we did some songs together, a Clash song, and we did Brown Eyed Women.
Yeah,
and it was great. Just recording with him, and we filmed it. But he was so nice. But yeah, I have friends that were hardcore guys. That one of my buddies I grew up with, Chris Cherokee. He runs like all that Bob Weir, all that Dead stuff.
Cherokee?
Yeah,
dude, I gave him my apartment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Look, it's so funny. He did sound at the Fillmore forever.
In the Warfield, right?
In the Warfield. And then I moved him into my building. And then when I was leaving, I said, dude, take this apartment here. And it was under rent control. And he's been there ever since, like 20 years. Wow. I just saw him recently. I ran into Cherokee in the weirdest place like London or whatever. But I was in Denver over the summer doing comedy. And then the Dead was playing at Boulder. And he's like, I text him, hey, I'm in the arena, and he goes, get up here, and he brought me right up on stage. It was
He's so
hilarious.
generous like that. Yeah, yeah. He's from my old hardcore days. From
Wow.
from back in New York. Yeah, totally.
He's the tour manager now. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, he's the best. It is good for him. He
That guy's
deserves
a
it.
lifer, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Unbelievable.
We're playing Oakland next week. He said he might come. We'll see.
Oh, where are you playing at?
I forget the name of the place in Oakland. I don't even know.
Fox Theater or something? Are you
No, I think it's not that big. Fuck. It's going past me. I know we're.
Now, what are you out on a solo tour?
No, I'm out opening for Alejandro Escovedo. So yeah, it's me. It's I'm playing out acoustic opening for him every night. So
Oh, badass. Yeah.
yeah, we've done a few different parts of the country a few times this year, and he's great. He was in the Nuns. They were out in San Francisco. Yeah.
The Nuns. Mike Varney was in that band, I believe, from Shrapnel Records, right?
Oh, wow.
Like he was like 14 or something.
They played the last gig for the Sex Pistols. Last gig they opened at the Winterland, 1978. Yeah, the Nuns.
Did you have the last Ramones gig, New York gig?
Coney Island High? Yeah, 2 nights. Yeah.
2 nights, the last
Wow,
Ramones
you
gig.
know that? That's crazy.
That's insane. What about Joe Strummer, man? You hung out with him quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, when I was a kid, though, I went online and waited outside the Palladium on 14th Street, and he signed my ticket. Love It to Life, Joe Strummer. So I named one of my records that. But he was another guy, if he came out, he just wanted to hang, he wanted to talk music, drink tequilas. And we spent a lot of nights like that. You'd have to bring your sunglasses. You're going to be out till 6, 7 in the morning. And I thought he only did that in New York. I was like, oh, he comes. How does this guy do this? He was doing it. My friends would call me up like in Denver. I hung with your boy Joe. We got crazy. Got in my car. Went to my house. Drank. Danced on my steps.
Wow.
And I was like, man, how does this guy pull it off? But yeah, he was so present, so giving. His dressing room was like the Marx Brothers scene in that movie. It's like full of people every night. Like, hey, Joe, with all his stuff. But I guess I met him through Bob Gruen, the photographer, because he, was a D-Generation supporter of Bob, and brought Joe to the gig, and then we all hung, and then I stayed in touch, through the Mescaleros years and stuff, and he used to come to Niagara a lot.
Yeah.
When he died, I guess the fans put stuff out, in front of that area, on the street, candles and flowers, because they knew that he had hung out there, so it was a place to mourn him. He'd just been at Niagara a lot, and he filmed some stuff there. So then my buddy who did the art direction to that DJ album and every album of mine, Josh Chuse, he was one of Joe Strummer's good mates, and he was looking to shoot the video for Redemption Song, which was the new Joe Strummer single for Tim Armstrong's label, but Joe had passed away. So how do you make a video, a guy that's dead? And in the Lower East Side, there's a couple Latino artists. One guy in particular that does these rattle cam style memorials on walls when someone passes. This guy Chico. And my sister's husband is this artist, Dr. Revolt, at the time. They're not together now. But he and this guy, Zephyr, came and they painted this mural of Joe Strummer on the wall of Niagara. And that's the video, them making it. And then it's like Jim Jarmusch and Steve Buscemi and myself and the Rancid guys putting flowers down. And it was just, and people passing by. It took the whole day with boom boxes. And that became the video for Redemption Song. And then we decided, what the fuck? Let's leave this mural up. Like, we didn't think, yeah, that's cool. And it stayed up. And now people come and take their picture there.
Oh, that's dope.
It looks different because it's been vandalized and swastikaed and had been retouched.
Just a couple more. I got a couple more things to ask you. One of them, were you a fan of once all that hits with the Strokes and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and that whole New York thing?
I totally back it because you got to look at New York. D-Generation, we never really made it. Like I said, we got record deals, we got money, we had cult followings, we stayed out of work, we toured the world, but we didn't really get across. We didn't break through the way we wanted to and hoped to. And really, you think of New York, we know Kiss and the stuff we talked about. And then in the 70s, none of those rock bands, Ramones got more famous when they were dead.
Right.
Blondie, yeah, but they got famous. They're a pop rock and roll band. They're a rock band. I love Blondie. But nothing had happened since that time in the late 70s. You could say the Beastie Boys, but is that a rock band? That's debatable. Cool band? Yeah, cool group. And then you got Sonic Youth, same kind of thing. But there hadn't been rock music out of New York, that broke through and changed the world. So Strokes, Interpol, yeah, I back it. And suddenly, went to England, came back, and then suddenly people started taking New York serious again, which was good for a lot of us, but also kind of rough too. The rents went up. Everybody wanted to move there.
Yeah.
September 11th happened. Before that, New York was getting a little popular, and I figured, you know what, fuck this gentrification. After that thing happened, maybe it'll scare people away.
Right.
But instead, there was a sympathetic, empathetic thing where people wanted to come to New York and be part of, like, be together and support it. And which was nice, but it made it bonkers to live and bonkers, just the grossest condos came up and record stores and bookstores and other clubs closed, and it became what we know of it, and that continues worldwide, like I said. But that time period, the early 2000s, where guitars, White Stripes, and they broke through, and it was like, a duo played Madison Square Garden. They got Nick Cave to open the White Stripes, or the Strokes have hits. It's like, and it was cool because the Strokes, you could see them. It's like 5 guys. You could tell it was a real band. Like, that was a gang. That was a family.
Yeah. They were the first ones that brought, I felt, danger back into it.
Decadence and danger and
it's like,
attitude
holy shit,
and
these guys
swagger.
are on drugs. They got leather jackets on, you know what I mean?
And they had a lot of the same records that me and my friends grew up with, but they had their own take on it. That's the thing about creativity. Me and you could take the same, 10 things and put them in a pot and mix them up. But how we make that soup and spit it out is going to be different because of your brain and my brain. So, we put the Velvet Underground and the Clash and Ramones or whatever, Lou Reed into there. But they had their own take, and they had this more angular thing. And I loved the guitar workings. I loved his songwriting, his lyrics, the attitude. It was dirty, and young kids were getting into it. So back it all the way. We need more things like that. Before that, we were the mainstream of rock or rock and roll or whatever the fuck you call it. Was this Cookie Monster stuff I couldn't relate to. It was like guys grunting and had to have a DJ on stage.
I didn't even know one
rapping.
thing about it.
You had to have, someone DJing with guitars, and people, the fashion was very
just open
asexual.
tuning, pressing one finger.
Jumping around with baggy pants and a baseball cap. There's nothing to it. It was just macho grunt stuff. I shouldn't all lock it in there because there are some good bands at that time period. I do like the Deftones. And
I love Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah, well, that there's always the ones that are unique, but it just became this
exactly.
thing,
But it's that whole K-Rock thing. What was it like to work with Rick Ocasek? Because I had a couple guys on from Rooney, and they worked with him a little bit.
Amazing, sweetest guy. We made that record, No Lunch, in less than 2 weeks, which at those days for a major label budget, super fast, 6-hour days, really chill. Wouldn't let me drink when I was singing, but which was interesting and cool. He brought Alan Vega from Suicide into the studio. He ended up on a song. His wife Paulina, wonderful lady, would sit with us and talk and read our palms. But Rick has this way of making everybody get along. You could see why he was able to deal with the bad brains with HR. He's just really chill, soft-spoken, but very smart, very artistic. For a guy that's written so many pop songs, there's a great command on how to bring out the most pop hook in your song, but still keep it fucking real and raw.
Right.
And No Lunch is an underproduced record as far as I'm concerned, as opposed to the first album.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite. And he just has a great temperament. And before you know it, it's like if you go to the doctor or something and you're dreading a certain procedure or something, or he's going to do, I don't know what it could be, you're just scared, and then he goes, it's done, that's it, like the dentist, I don't know, he goes, we're done, you're out. And I'm like, what? I was freaking. That's how the record was made. He sneaks the record out of you before you
That's
know
great.
We're done, that's it, go home. I'm like, really? I don't have to sing it 10 times and do this? And he's like, no, man, it's great. Like, he just makes you feel good about what you do and is able to pull it out. So he sees, further down the road. I would work with him anytime again, and I'm a fan of a lot of his stuff. Suicide, Bad Brains, the Weezer stuff, the Car stuff, his solo stuff.
I miss Ben Orr, man. Cruising, all that. Who's gonna drive you home?
Yeah,
that shit
sad,
was dark,
that was
man.
sad, yeah.
Yeah. One last thing before you split. I miss that Stones thing, but you do these things where you put together and do like a whole Stones record and stuff like that.
We did the Goat's Head Soup. I did that as a charity for our merch seller, old road manager, a girl named Natalie, Natty Baverstock from England. She has really bad lymphoma and ended up paralyzed in a wheelchair, and she needed a special wheelchair. And we just couldn't figure out how to do it. We thought we were going to do some GoFundMe project. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make T-shirts. We're going to do 2 concerts. One was on my birthday at the Roxy and one in New York for a holiday show in December. And I just got a bunch of friends together. I played a regular set. And then we came out for the encore and did Goat's Head Soup. 10 songs, real 70s, with a lot of great friends, that really supported that. And then we raised the money for the chair. So that's normally, it was just some fanboy stuff, but to take something and, she replaced Nick Alexander, who was the guy who did merch for the Eagles of Death Metal that was killed in Paris.
Yeah.
He had done his first merch tours were with me on my first 2 albums, and after he left, then she came on, and she used actually his spreadsheets and everything. We're all stayed friends, but it's just that, when you hear things and you see how awful things can be in this world, you really miss your friends. You really appreciate the moment, but you also, realize, we got to take care of each other. Rock and roll community, and some people don't have fucking medical shit, health insurance.
Most people.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that.
It's incredible, and the rents are high, and people are getting older, and there's no health care, and it's insane out there.
Yeah, so a lot of great people just came out, and if they couldn't make the shows, they donated or bought a T-shirt that said "Positive Panther" because she's a real fighter, Natalie. She, has a tattoo because we started calling it a Positive Panther, the PMA stuff.
Yeah,
and of this panther.
I'm way into that PMA stuff.
Yeah, it's good. So you got to do it. You got to live it.
I stay positive. You know what I mean? My boy Adam went, who books the Comedy Store. And he was like, he texted me like, dude, are you here? This is incredible. And he talked about it for like a week,
Oh, wow. Yeah, Jacob sang 100 Years, and Butch Walker, and Lisa from Bell Rays, and Emmy from Counting Crows, Chris Stills, the L7 Girl. The L7 Girls did Starfucker, Star. I think Wayne Kramer from MC5.
Sick.
It was just nuts. Dave Ketching from Eagles of Death Metal.
Yeah.
Rick from D-Generation, and my buddy Howie Pyro was DJing. It was like, all right, I'm going to make my birthday. I'm going to do it in L.A. because I'm on the road. But let's turn it into a benefit. Let's make something for somebody else.
How old did you turn?
50.
50?
Yeah.
I'm 51, man.
I know, man.
God, we're the same. Like, you're an Aquarius?
Yeah.
Me too, man. February 3rd.
All right. Happy birthday.
That's great. Are you a big comedy fan at all?
I like Lenny Bruce, Woody Allen. I'm trying to think what else. Richard Pryor. Probably more old school stuff.
Right. I mean, because you live down the street from one of the greatest comedy clubs in the world, the Cellar, or the Stand, either one.
Really?
I'm in New York a lot.
Well, you gotta let me know.
I gotta take you out.
I'll check you out. I want to see you do your thing.
I'll take you out. We'll go see some fucking comedy. We'll go to Red Bamboo, eat up food.
That sounds good.
And then just talk rock all night.
I want to see you do your bit, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'll go on, of course. I go on every night. Right. Yeah.
Good.
Well, thanks for doing the show, dude.
Yeah, man.
You don't fuck around with social media?
I do it. Yeah, I'm involved in that. I'm on Instagram, Facebox. I'm on all that stuff.
Facebox. Yeah, but you don't do Twitter?
I don't know how to do it. My road manager will do it for me. We'll say, like, let's put up that we're playing tonight or something. But I'm more
Instagram. What is the Instagram?
Jesse_Malin. Yeah. And,
cool.
And Jesse Malin on Facebook, and then but you gotta tell me about Twitter, how it works. I mean, people can say like, hey, how you doing? I don't know. I heard it's limited. You can't talk too much. Just keep it simple. Like,
yeah.
Look at me, Ma.
Look at me, Ma. It's great to be at your level where you don't have to worry about Twitter. I
don't know. It's probably not a level. It's just, I'm not saying I'm the most popular guy in the world, but it's some of this stuff, this technology.
But you have fans that will come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you put stuff up there. I mean, it's the way we have to do it. Like you're talking about the tattoos.
Yeah.
I got into music for antisocial reasons. Now I'm on social media, and I put up a picture, and I'm happy, I'm sad, It's like, I come from a place, so do you probably, a time where there's more mystery and there's more like
mystique.
You show up at the show, you got the record, that's it, like figure it out.
It's like, whoa, look at his jacket. Oh shit, he plays SG with fucking P90s. I thought it was PAFs.
They call that, it's an Esquire, not a Telly, Unborn to Run.
Yeah, right. Oh God,
I thought that was a
I'm such an Esquire guy.
Yeah.
I love Esquires.
Yeah.
Just a Blackguard Esquire, a tweed, deluxe. And let's go.
Yeah.
What do you play now?
Right now I'm playing a Les Paul Jr., like a Sunburst,
P90.
Tobacco Sunburst, P90, 1956. My buddy Ricky, the Chud King, Ricky Mahler, he's out here. He sells gear, just to his friends, like really cool stuff. He sold me my 62 Hummingbird acoustic. I have a Les Paul, like a black deluxe that I play, on some songs. But mostly right now I'm playing that Junior. Yeah, that single cutaway. Yeah.
I had Tor on from John Varvatos.
Oh, he's a super cool guy, yeah.
And I used a photo. He had a Coney Island High photo beanie on.
Wow.
In the photo. And people fucking, Where'd he get that hat? Do they sell those hats again?
I got to start making that shit
You
again. I gotta
should,
call up
dude.
the other partners.
I tell you what, because you should see my Instagram. It's just a fucking. Oh, that's all they're talking about is his hat.
Well, you got to think that, at the time we didn't know, but all these bands that, would go on and sell these records would play the Korn and Incubus and Modest Mouse and 311. It was like, wow, No Doubt played there one night on a Tuesday. We were like, who's this ska band with this chick singing? It was like 50 people there, maybe less. But it was at that time when record companies still had the muscle, so when the bands were young and they were great, they all did other things. But we did a lot of all ages stuff there. That was the thing too. The creepy crawl hardcore shows. So a lot of kids went at a young age.
Yeah.
And they remember that, just the way
You had
we
GNR in there? Did you have GNR?
No, they came and jammed at the Continental around the corner at Trigger's place.
The Continental, I remember.
But
Did you open for GNR?
we opened for GNR with DJing a few times, yeah.
On what era? Appetite?
The
or-
Chinese for Democracy,
Oh,
not
China.
back then.
Oh, I got. Oh,
Yeah,
back,
yeah, yeah.
back then would have been dope.
No,
right?
back then
Of course,
it was-
yeah, because you're 90s. I'm like, oh yeah, did you open for them back then? But
Not in
maybe
the
your other
80s.
band.
No, that would have been, yeah. So I saw them open for Aerosmith, though. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's a great. I saw.
in a raceway or speedway or something up in Middletown.
There's good footage of that on YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you can watch that whole show.
Oh, wow.
I saw him open for the Cult, and then I saw him before that, but that's really the iconic, the Cult GNR tour, because that's when everybody just goes, oh fuck, this is it.
In New York, they talk about the Ritz.
Yeah, well, that's
like one of the shows that people really talk about.
That MTV Live at the Ritz.
Yeah.
That's the most dangerous thing I've ever seen on MTV. You know, it was just like, whoa, what the fuck? It came off. Like, it's hard to film a band and go, oh, those guys are dangerous. But you watch that and you go, oh, this is insane.
Wow. I'd like to go back and watch that again.
Oh, yeah, you can watch that.
Revisit.
Thanks for doing the show, dude.
Thanks for having me.
And where you at next? Oakland?
No, tomorrow we're in San Diego on Monday, and Tuesday, Long Beach, and then Oakland on Friday, and somewhere above that. I don't know. And then we're on to Salt Lake and Denver.
Oh, wow. I was just in Denver today.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
man.
you said that, right? It's fun.
I'll come see you in New York.
Okay, sounds
All right,
good.
thank you,
Deal.
man. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to leave a review and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes.
I was thinking about another time still in my mind. Well, I used to know a little girl high on this world. Your baby loves you more than you know. Raised on rivalry and rock and roll. Moving to the Motor City, so she lets go on the radio.
Well, we never had a lot of cash, but we love those kids. Some say that she missed the boat, but she just burned the bridge. The angels love you more than you know. Raised on robbery and rock and roll. Moving to the Motor City, so she takes hold on the radio. Stomach aches some days, in books we never read. Well, I was hoping someday we might meet again. She used to talk about astrology. She was born in June. She danced with strangers and celebrities, empty stars in the full moon. I was thinking about the universe for what it's worth. Or the one about the phoenix bird, the tide and return. The angels love you more than you know. Raised on robbery
on the radio.